Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our family paint night, our virtual family paint night. I'm so excited to be here with you this evening. We're going to wait just a minute or two for everybody to get a chance to sign on. But you can see here in the background that we're going to be making Ulysses the squirrel from our Flora and Ulysses One School, One Book. So I'm super excited to paint with you tonight. You should have received your kit from school. In that kit, you will have gotten a 8 by 10 canvas that we're going to be painting on today. It's a canvas board. All right, so you'll notice that one side has kind of more of that canvas texture, and then the other side is more smooth. So we want to make sure we're painting on the canvas side on the front. And then you also should have your templates of the squirrel, the tail, and then I put a few ideas on this sheet for you as well for things that you might want the squirrel to be holding. In my sample one, I did a piece of paper when Ulysses was using the typewriter. I liked that part in the story, so that's what I chose for Ulysses, the squirrel, to be holding. But of course, you can use a different idea from this sheet or think of your own idea, right? That's what's so much fun about art, is that you can use your own ideas, right? Incorporate your own creativity. And then you also should have gotten some paint brushes in your kit. So you should have a large, medium, and small paintbrush. So you should have those brushes there. And then you also got your paints, okay? So you should have a red, a yellow, and a turquoise blue paint. I was informed that a few students got a pink instead of a red, but that is just fine. And then you should also have a black, a brown, and a white as well. Okay. All right. So before we get started with painting, I would suggest kind of giving every one of your paint bottles a good shake and make sure that that paint is nice and mixed up. So I'm going to do that real quick to all my paints. Okay. And then there's a few other supplies that you should have ready as well before we start. Just going to finish shaking up my paints real quick. So you also need a paper plate or something to use as a palette. So I have this plate here that's kind of more of those, one of those more like plastic kind of plates. I've reused it over and over again. So a paper plate or something to put your paint on to mix your colors. And then you also need a cup of water. You may have to switch out your water about halfway and kind of do a little refresh. So just a heads up on that. And then a paper towel or even like an old rag or something that you can wipe and dry your brushes off on. And then we also need a pair of scissors and a pencil as well. Okay. All right. So we're going to get started. I'm going to switch my camera over. So give me just a moment here while I flip this down. All right. So hopefully everybody can see that okay. And just in case, if I'm going to try my best to give everybody, enough time in between each step, but just in case I'm going a little too fast or you miss something, please try your best to just keep going. And you can always watch this back later. We're going to have this replayed on our website. So don't worry if you are, falling behind or you're worried about not finishing. You can always take a break and you can always come back and watch this later, okay? But like I said, I'm going to try my best to go at a nice pace for everybody so that we can all stay together with our painting. All right, so we're going to start by cutting out our templates. So you should have your squirrel template and then your tail template. You don't need to cut these little objects out yet unless you want to use one of those for your squirrel to hold. So I always like to start by just kind of cutting a little bubble around first and getting rid of some of that extra paper. And then once I have that done, then I'm going to kind of cut closer to the line. So I'm so excited that we get to do this virtually. Last I heard, I think we have about 188 or 190 painters. So that is just amazing. I'm so happy that so many people were wanting to paint together with me tonight. So I hope that we have lots of fun. It's a little bit different being on YouTube and not being on the Google Meets because I can't really talk and interact with you like we usually do during our Google Meets art classes. But that's okay. I know we're still going to have a ton of fun. And I hope that you and your families and friends have fun tonight as we paint and create some art together. All right. So we're getting our templates cut out. So we're cutting out the squirrel and the tail. And we're going to use these to kind of help us get our paintings started. So this will be a nice way to get our squirrel sketched out a little bit quicker at a nice scale. So it's a good size for the canvas that we're working with. And it'll save us a little bit of time. All right. Hopefully everyone's doing well with cutting. So if you finish cutting out your squirrel and your tail, then you can start to just place them on your paper. And you can also decide which direction you want your squirrel to be facing. Okay, now you'll notice here that your tail and the little part that's sticking out from the body, they're slightly different sizes. And I kind of did that because that will allow you to, either put your tail a little bit lower or a little bit higher. And you can always kind of trim and cut that extra off that you don't need, or you can just kind of skip around it when you're tracing. So you can have your squirrel, for example, I can have it facing right like that, or I can flip it over and have it facing left. So you can decide which direction you want your squirrel to go as well. Okay, so I'll give everyone another minute or so to finish cutting out their squirrel and their tail. And then whenever you're ready, decide which direction you want your squirrel to face. I think I'm going to have mine facing to the right like this. And then kind of match up your tail and your body. Again, you can have it, kind of higher or lower depending. I think I would kind of like it higher up there. And so I'm just going to use my pencil and just make a little line here because I'm going to cut a little bit of that extra part off just to line it up better. Okay, now before we trace our squirrel on our canvas, we want to also keep in mind that we need to leave some room for a little tree stump. Okay, so when I'm placing my squirrel on my canvas, it doesn't have to be exactly in the center, exactly in the middle, but I kind of want it to have a little more room on the bottom than the top. So I need to leave a little space for my little tree stump here, okay? All right. So we'll wait just another moment for everyone to finish cutting out their templates and placing them on their canvas. Don't forget, you can always take a drink of water, use the restroom whenever you need to. Okay, so whenever you are ready and your squirrel is cut out and placed where you want it on your canvas, you can go ahead and start tracing. So make sure you use one hand to hold that template down nice and tight as you're tracing around it with your pencil. So I'm going to trace around the outside, kind of walk my fingers towards the edge to help hold it in place. Of course, if we have some younger students, some younger siblings, We might need to use some teamwork and help each other to hold our templates and trace those down. Oops. If your template moves a little, don't worry. You can just move it right back. Okay, just gonna finish going around the head here. Okay, awesome. So my squirrel and my tail are traced on my canvas. I'm gonna wait a moment or two for everyone to get those steps done. And then we're gonna sketch a few details on our squirrel, and then we'll draw the stump, the tree stump at the bottom, and then we'll be ready to start painting. Yay! Okay. All right, so hopefully everyone has their squirrel and tail. I guess that would be the whole squirrel now, right? Hopefully everyone has the squirrel traced on their canvas. And I wanted to show you my example one, which is larger than the one we're using. But I just wanted to kind of show you this for reference real quick before we start sketching. So we're going to do a little curved line for the front leg. Okay, we're going to make this arm kind of extend into the body a little bit more. And we'll sort of just do some little sketch lines here for the neck and the belly. Okay, we're going to draw some curved lines on the face. We'll use circles for the eyes, an upside down triangle for the nose. You can add some triangles in your ears as well if you want. And then you can add a mouth. Okay, and then I'm also going to sketch a little line to kind of do a little bit of separation between the body and the tail. Of course, if you have a different style for your eyes or your mouth or any other details, of course you can do your own, add your own ideas, right? Okay, so I'm going to start by making just a little curved line between the body and the tail, just to have a little bit of separation. The tail and the body are going to be the same color, but we'll add some little lines to kind of show a little bit of separation there when we paint later. All right, I'm also going to go here in the front and add a little rainbow curve down for the front leg. Little rainbow curve. Okay, now for the arm, I'm going to come here, right here where the arm is connected to the body. I'm going to do a short little line in. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Just sketch a short little line in like that, just to make that arm a little bit longer. I'm actually going to just do just a little bit longer. There we go. All right, I'm going to use 2 vertical lines. 1, 2. We can also do a little sketch line to kind of separate the head from the neck. That might be a little easier to see. There we go. So 2 little lines down here. And then I'm going to pick up my pencil. So see where this line comes down? I'm going to pick up my pencil and skip over my arm. And I'm going to draw a line down. And then I'm going to come over and connect to the foot for the belly. And same thing with this line. This line down, I'm going to skip over my arm and draw another line down and stop at that curve. Okay, if you wanted to, you could make this curve go to the bottom. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to erase that a little bit. and just make this curve come down here and stop at the bottom where we have that little space there. That's another option. Okay. And these are just little guidelines, so we don't have to draw them exactly or follow them exactly when we paint. They're just kind of little helper lines for us, little guidelines for us, okay? So we did the curve here to separate the body from the tail. We did the rainbow curve on the front leg. We extended the arm a little bit, and then we made 2 lines down under the head. We kind of did a little curve across the head to separate that from the body. And then picked up our pencil and skipped over our arm. We did a rainbow curve down and then a straight line down here for the belly. Okay, now all that's left to do are some of the details on the face and then the stump, and then we'll get started with our painting, okay? So on the face here, you'll notice these little points that come in where the ears kind of stop as they connect to the head. So starting at that little point, I'm going to do a little rainbow curve down on one side and rainbow curve down, kind of come in on the other side. Rainbow curve, just a gentle little curve. And then I'm going to make an upside down triangle for the nose. So starting here, I'm going to do a straight or a curved line across, horizontal, little horizontal line. And then almost like a letter V. So you're going to go down and up to make an upside down triangle. All right. Awesome. Okay, and I'm going to just do some little circles for the eyes. So just go around and around. Remember, these are just little guidelines. And then I'm going to make my mouth. I'm going to have an open kind of smiley face. So you can do a closed smiley face like that. Actually, I kind of like that. I didn't open one on my example. So you could do a little curve and then a big letter U at the bottom if you want. Or you can leave a closed mouth, or you can have a different kind of mouth. It could be open, maybe with some teeth inside if you wanted to. Might be a little hard to paint if they're really tiny, but it's up to you. You are the artist. And then if you want to, you can also add some little triangles inside the ears, or you can just leave the ears plain. Okay? Wonderful. All right, now for the tree stump, we're going to be using an oval. Okay, an oval for the top of the stump. It's going to start here at the back of the tail. We're going to kind of come down in the front and up and around and stop back at the side of the squirrel's body. And then we'll just do 2 little lines down to the bottom of our canvas. Okay, so pretty easy. So you're going to start at the back of your tail here. And when I'm drawing a circle or an oval, I always like to draw in the air first. So I kind of get that motion going with my hand first. So I'm going to kind of do a practice oval first. Do that a few times. And then start at the tail and curve out and around and back up. And then I'm just going to do 2 lines down for each side. That's it. All right, so for the stump, you're going to start at the tail, do oval, so like a big curve around and back up and stop at the squirrel. And then you can draw 2 vertical lines down to the bottom. Wonderful. I can feel through the screen. Everyone is doing amazing. Wonderful job. We are almost ready to start painting. All right, now I'm going to go to my idea sheet here. So these were some ideas that I got from the book when they went to the diner, the donut diner, right? So maybe you want your squirrel to be holding a donut. Maybe you want more of like a traditional squirrel food, like a cracker or an acorn or a nut. And then another big part of the story was that one of Ulysses' superpowers was that he could type on a typewriter, right? So maybe you wanted to do a little typewriter or a little piece of paper, or maybe you want to draw a book or something else in your squirrel's hand. So if you want to, you can cut one of these things out and you can trace it on your canvas in like the squirrel is holding it in its hand, Or you can just look at the sheet and draw, or like I said, think of your own idea. So I think I'm going to do a donut for mine. Do I want to trace it? Maybe I will. So if you wanted to trace something, you can cut it out and trace around it, just like we did for the squirrel and the tail. Or like I said, you can also think of your own idea and draw something else in the squirrel's hand. This donut has a little bite taken out of it. Oh, and it's fun to kind of start thinking about what colors you might want to do for certain things, right? Like, what's your favorite donut flavor? If you are someone that likes donuts, like me, I like donuts. So I really like the ones that are strawberry frosted with sprinkles. Yummy. So that's what I'm going to do for mine. Oh, I got to cut out that little part in the center, don't I? So when I paint, I'm going to do some pink frosting on my donut. I think that would be fun. Ooh, this is going to be a little tricky to cut out the inside part. That's okay. Do your best, right? Always try your best. Have fun and forget the rest. So don't worry about a thing. All right, so I'm going to have it kind of facing like that, like Ulysses just took a little bite out of it. So I'm going to trace around my donut template. Or like I said, you can sketch a different object in your squirrel's hand. You can look at the pictures and draw them. Or you can cut out and trace like I did. It's totally up to you. Now I think I'm going to erase a little bit of the line here. So that way the hand is kind of overlapping the donut so it looks like it's holding the donut in its arm or in its hand. Okay, I got to draw a little frosting line and some sprinkles on mine as well. So hopefully you are working on your detail. We want to give everyone a few minutes to work on sketching. That means drawing lightly, right? Sketching out their details. So if you finished a little bit early, use this time to, like I said, take a drink of water, do a little stretch. We're going to give everyone another minute or so to finish their detail before we start painting, okay? Awesome. Okay. I'm going to see if I can find some music. Maybe we can listen to some songs while we're painting today. This kind of reminds me of when Flora and her dad would say, "Holy bagumba." Kind of like ooga chaka, kind of that funny word, huh? All right, so we are going to get ready to start painting. I'm so excited. So we're going to start with our largest brush, and we're going to be working on the background first, okay? So this is the sky area. So you can do any color you want for your sky. I'm going to go with the turquoise color, so kind of that blue color. But maybe you want to do a red or pink, or you can also mix some colors together, right? If I mixed some turquoise and yellow together, I could make a green. So if you're mixing colors, what you want to do is start with your lighter color first. So I would put a little bit of the yellow on my plate, and then I would take a little bit of my blue and put that right next to it, and then I can mix those together to create my color, okay? So you can mix on your plate for your palette. Now I would also suggest mixing a little bit of white into whatever color you're doing for your background, because usually when you're doing a painting, we do something called priming the canvas. So that's where you just do kind of like a flat coat of white, and that kind of helps the paint sort of stick to the canvas better and gives you a nice clean area to work with. But just to kind of save a little bit of time, I'm going to mix some of the white in my turquoise. So I put those both on my plate, some of the turquoise and some of the white, and I'm going to mix those together with my large brush. Blend those. All right, and then I'm going to use that for my background. So I would always suggest kind of outlining around your object first, right? So I'm going to start kind of carefully going around my squirrel. Now, if your large brush is too large and it's hard to kind of outline, you can always switch to your medium brush for the outlining part, and then you can use your big brush to kind of fill in, okay? But mine is pretty okay. I can use this carefully to outline. So I'm going to go around my squirrel. I'm going to go around my donut or whatever object you have. Oh yeah, I got to remember to paint inside the little circle of my donut. So I'm actually going to use my medium brush for that and just do a little bit of blue on the inside there. There we go. I'm going to rinse my brush in my water cup, that medium one that I just used. So I'm going to swish, 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 swipe, swipe, and then I can dry it off on my paper towel. All right, so other colors you could do purple. You could mix some of your red and some of your blue to make a purple color for your background. And don't forget to add a little bit of white in there as well. That'll kind of help with your background, spreading the paint and kind of giving you a nice coat on your sky. All right, so I'm outlining around my squirrel and my stump, and then I'm going to go back and fill in the rest with my large brush. You can also try holding your brush straight up and down. That will help you if you're getting in kind of a smaller corner, a smaller area. And another trick to kind of keep in mind as we're painting today is use the paint on, typically you're using it on one side of the brush. So if you notice that you start to run out, before you go and dip and get more paint, flip your brush over because there's usually some more paint hiding on the back. So I always kind of flip my brush over and use up all that paint first. And then when I start to run out, I do another quick dip and get some more. So we're going to fill in our background first. So we're kind of working back to front. I love the feeling of the paint on the canvas. It's so much fun to paint on a canvas. It's fun to paint on paper as well, right? But it's extra fun if you can paint on a canvas. And it's okay if I go over my pencil lines a little bit. I'm not too worried about that because when we paint the squirrel, we'll kind of cover up that edge, right? Okay, so after you go all the way around the outside, then you can start to fill in the rest of your canvas. So I'm going to go around the outside edge here. And then it goes a lot faster. Once I have all that careful outlining done, right, I can fill in the rest a lot quicker. I'm trying my best to kind of paint in one direction. So I'm going kind of top to bottom, up and down like that. And then certain areas you might need to go side to side, right? But if you can, try to go either up and down or side to side to help keep that paint nice and smooth on your canvas. Paint, paint, paint. All right, so get that entire background filled in. Don't forget to do that little area in between the body and tail as well. Okay, and then if you notice any little spots where maybe you missed or they're a little bit lighter, just kind of dab your brush on there, kind of fill in those little spots you might have missed as you were going. And then something else I wanted to talk to you all about was wrapping the canvas. So if you have a traditional canvas, you're going to have a much thicker edge, right? It's going to kind of wrap around. This is thinner because it's a canvas panel or a canvas board. But notice how there's still a little bit of white along the edge there. So you want to kind of use your brush and just unwrap that paint around the edge. That gives it a nice finished look. Okay. Now, hopefully everyone put something down on their table. I forgot to say that at the beginning. But like a plastic table cover, some newspaper. I just put an extra scrap of paper that I had underneath. That will kind of help keep your work area clean, right? So sorry, I forgot to remind everybody of that at the beginning. Hopefully we didn't make too big of a mess. That's all right if you did. It's washable, right? You can always clean it up. That's how you know you're working hard, when you make a good mess in art. Just going to use my fingertips to hold it on the edge so I can paint along the bottom here. Now, if you don't want to paint around your edges, you don't have to, okay? But this is just a suggestion if you wanted to kind of wrap that paint around, give it a more finished look. It's kind of nice to do that, but again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right, so I finished my background and wrapping my paint around the canvas. So I'm going to give my large brush a good wash in my water cup. So if you're still painting your background, that's totally fine. Just finish your background, and when you're done, you're going to wash your brush. So we like to do swish, 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 swish. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Oh, probably try not to do that over your canvas because you might drip some water like I did. That's okay. Just water. All right, I'm going to do it over my little rag here. So swish, swish, swipe, swipe. And then kind of gently swipe it on your paper towel. Kind of dab it on your rag or paper towel that you're working with. And get that extra paint off there. And your brush is nice and clean. And when your brush is clean, just set that to the side for right now. We're going to give everyone a minute or so to catch up and to finish painting their background. Now, after we're done with our sky, we're going to be working on our tree stump next, okay? So we're going to be using our brown paint next. So I'm going to kind of swivel my plate around to a little clean spot. So for the stump, we're going to create 2 brown colors. So you have one that can be just the brown that came just right out of the bottle, okay? And then you're going to make another brown that's a little bit lighter, okay? So we're going to have our regular brown, and then we also are going to make a light brown. So to make the brown a little bit lighter, what can we do to make a color lighter? We can add white to it, right? You could also add some yellow. Yellow is a lighter color as well, right? So you can add white to make a lighter brown, or you could add some yellow as well. All right. We're going to wait just a few more seconds for everyone to finish their background. All right, so I'm going to place some of the brown, regular brown, on my plate. And then I'm going to put a little bit more brown next to it, and I'm going to mix my lighter brown there, okay? So for my lighter brown, I'm going to mix a little bit of white. I'm just going to do, so I did about a quarter size of the brown. And then I'm just going to put maybe 1 or 2 little dots of white. And I can always add more to it if I need to, right? You could even add some yellow in there if you wanted to. You could do white and yellow, or you could just do white or just do yellow. I'm going to try a little bit of yellow as well. Let's see what that looks like. So after I have my brown and my lighter colors there, I'm going to mix them together. See my lighter brown. Awesome. Okay, so I like the look of that. I'm pretty happy with that for my lighter brown color. Yours might look slightly different than mine, right? So I'm going to use the light brown to paint the top of the stump here, so this area here. So again, I'm going to outline around the edges first. And I'm using my medium size brush. You could use a larger brush or a smaller brush if you need to, but a medium one for this brush. For this step, sorry. How's everybody doing out there? Doing good? Hopefully you're having fun painting with your family, mixing some colors. It's already starting to come together, isn't it? That background filled in the canvas nicely. Now I'm filling in the top of my stump with a lighter brown. So after you outline, then you can fill in the rest. Just like we did with our sky. Outline and then fill in. And if you notice any little spots that are kind of lighter, I'm going to kind of go back over my brush and sort of smooth that out. Now, since the stump is more round, right, as you're painting, you might want to kind of curve your brush around the outside. Curve it because you might notice those brush strokes. That'll give it more of that curved look and texture, okay? Now, when you finish the light brown, you're going to wash your brush and then use your dark brown to paint in the bottom of the stump. And we're also going to do a little bit of dark brown on the top. We're going to add some lines to make it look like the rings in the tree. So I'm going to swish, 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 swipe, swipe, swipe. Remember to be careful with your water cup so you don't spill on your painting like I did. It's okay. All right, so I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And then I'm going to grab my darker brown. And I'm going to fill in the bottom of the trunk. Okay. Now, before I do the rings in the tree, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So your brushes might be different looks or styles or sizes than mine. But notice how here's like my larger brush, here's my medium brush, and here's my smallest brush, right? So I'm going to use my medium brush for the rings in the tree, but you might still be able to use your large brush if it's a little bit on the smaller side, or you might have to use your really tiny small brush if that's a better size for you too, okay? So I'm going to wash my large brush really good, wash and dry that, and then I'm going to use my medium brush to paint the rings on the tree. So I'm going to use my dark brown again. So I'm using my medium brush, dipping in my dark brown. And then I'm going to start here in the middle. I'm going to kind of do a little swirl. So I'm going to start and kind of do a C curve, like a letter C. Okay, so start with a little C and then curve around. I have to dip and get a little more paint. And I'm going to get bigger and bigger. Now when I get to my squirrel, I'm going to stop. I've got to kind of lift my paintbrush and skip over it. Do a little curve on that side, little curve on this side. I'm going to do another curve and just keep going curving back and forth until you fill in the top of the stump. So I'm going to do probably one more over here. And if you hold your brush a little bit further down the handle, so instead of holding it really close like a pencil, kind of hold it a little further down, that'll give you a little bit more of a delicate stroke with your brush. All right. Great job, everybody. I'm just going to kind of go around the edge and clean up that edge a little bit. There we go. Okay, and when you're all done with your tree stump, then just wash your brush again. Swish, swish, swish. Swipe, swipe. And dry off on your paper towel or your rag. All right, so we're going to wait a minute or so for everyone to finish their tree stump. And our next step is going to be our squirrel's body. So I want you to start thinking about what color, you might want to do for your squirrel's body. Let me move my canvas over a little bit. There we go. So you can do a gray color. How do we make gray? We can mix white and black to make gray. You could do more of a tan kind of color. So using your brown along with maybe some white or yellow. You could even mix a little bit of red in there. So you can really have fun kind of making some different gray, brown, tan colors for your squirrel. But similar to the stump, you're going to need two colors, okay? We're going to need a lighter color for the face and the belly, and adding some highlights on our tail and body as well. And then a darker color for the top of the head, the hand or arm, the body, and then most of the tail, okay? So for example, if you're doing gray, then you're going to have a darker gray and a lighter gray. If you're doing brown, you want to try to make sure you're making different browns than what we used on the tree stump. It could be more of a tan or kind of caramel color by adding some yellow. So before we start our squirrel, let me just show you a couple color mixing options for the squirrel's body. So you can do gray. So we have white and black. You want to be really careful with the black. Black is a strong color, so it can overpower other colors very easily. So go really light with the black. So just start with a little dot. And again, you can always add more if you need to, right? So I did about a quarter size of white and a little dot of black, and I'm going to mix that together. And let's see what kind of gray I create. Okay, good. So that's kind of a nice nice medium gray. So I can mix another gray next to that and make it a little bit darker or make it a little bit lighter. So if I want a lighter gray, then I would add more white. And if I want a darker gray, I would add more black, right? And then another option is kind of more of a tan caramel color. So for that, I'm actually going to kind of put this right by the brown, since I would use brown and yellow. And let's see what that looks like. Mix it up, mix it, mix it, mix it. There we go. So we have kind of more of a caramely color. It's showing up a little darker on the camera, but it's a little bit lighter on my plate. You could even try adding a little bit of red into your brown as well, kind of more of a reddish brown color. All right, so I'm going to go with a gray color for my squirrel. So I need to mix two grays. I need a lighter gray and a darker gray. All right, so I think that's going to be my lighter gray, I think. So I'm going to try to make a second gray that's a little bit darker. So I'm going to use a little more black on the second one. So maybe I'll do 2 dots of black instead of 1. Let's see if that makes it a little bit darker. Oops, my paint is kind of goopy. It's like a paint booger. Ew. All right, so I'm going to mix this together. So whenever you're ready, you can start mixing your colors for your squirrel's body. Remember, you need a light and a dark. So you can do a light and a dark gray. You can do a light and a dark tan or caramel or brown. Remember just to try to make your brown colors different than your tree stump color so that it doesn't blend in. All right, good. So I've got a lighter gray and a darker gray. So I'm going to give everyone a minute or so to mix their colors before we start. I'm going to wash my brushes. And I think I'm going to add just a touch more white to my lighter gray. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. Just a little bit. So that's what's great about working with paint, right? You can always kind of experiment and mix new colors and try some different color options. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take away, right? So it's best to kind of start with a little bit, and you can always add more and change the color if you need to. If you start with a lot of paint, then you might run out, right? So just start with a little bit. You can always add more if you need to. So I'm going to just wash and dry my brushes. I'm just getting those clean and ready. And I'll be using my medium brush to paint in my squirrel's body today. But again, you might use your larger or your smaller brush depending on what size works best. But for me, I'm going to use my medium one. All right, now at this time too, if you need to switch out your water, get a refresh, get some fresh water, you can do that, or you can keep using the same water that you have. I'm going to take a little drink real quick. I'm not drinking my paint water. Don't worry. But you can switch out your water in your water cup for washing your brushes if it's gotten really dirty. If you need to switch it out, you can do that. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mix this up. Let me mix my lighter gray. All right, so you should have 2 colors mixed on your plate, a lighter color and a darker color. There we go. And we're going to start with our lighter color first. Okay, let me just finish washing my brush here, drying it off. All right, so I'm going to start with my lighter gray, and my lighter gray is going to fill in this bottom half of the face, those little lines, those little sections that we made for kind of like the neck, the chest, into the belly. Okay, so I'm going to do the lighter gray here and here. And then I'm going to fill in the rest of my, I'm going to do inside my ears with a light gray too. Okay, And then I'm going to fill in the rest of my squirrel with the dark gray. And then I'm going to take my lighter gray at the end and kind of go back on top of my tail to add some motion, some movement lines on there, okay? So let's start with our lighter color. And we're going to fill in the bottom part of our face. So I'm going to, again, outline around the outside first. Let me go carefully around my nose. He kind of looks even more like a superhero now with his mask. Did anyone get a chance to watch Flora and Ulysses on Disney Plus yet? I watched it over the weekend. I saw that it came out. That's exciting. Okay, when I'm painting a circle or painting around my eyes, I kind of like to use a C curve. So I do a C curve on the left, C curve on the right. That helps me kind of go around it. Oh yeah, he totally looks like a superhero right now, doesn't he? And your squirrel could also be a she, right? I know that it was a he in the book, but it could be either one. I'm going to kind of go around my mouth and just leave that little pencil line showing so I have my guideline later when I do the black. But it's okay if you accidentally paint over it. All right, so I'm going to fill in the bottom of the face or the head here with my lighter color. So I did all my outlining, and now I'm filling it in. Once you outline and take your time with the outlining, then filling it in goes a lot faster. So it's a good little tip. So I'm going to use my brush and fill in my little triangles inside the ears as well. So you might, for this part, for something more detailed, you might hold it more like a pencil, right? And hold it a little bit closer to the metal part of the brush. So I'm going to fill in the inside of my ears. Okay, now I'm going to do this part here for the chest and the belly. So again, if it's too hard to paint with your medium-sized brush, just switch to your smaller brush. You can always wash your brushes and change them out and use what works best for you, okay? So I'm going to paint the little chest and the belly sections. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to start filling in my darker grays. So the lighter gray I did for the bottom of the head or the face, inside the ears if you did those inside of the ear shapes, and then the chest and the belly with the light gray. So now I'm going to switch to my darker gray. So again, you might use multiple brushes, right? You might use your small or your medium one to outline and then your larger one to fill in. Or you might just be able to use your medium brush for the whole thing, whatever works best for you. So wash and dry your brush, and then you can get your darker gray or your darker color if you're using like more of a brown or tan. Oops, I accidentally dipped in my light gray. Mrs. Wagner. Oops. It's a beautiful oops. It's okay. All right, let me try again. There we go. My darker gray. I'm going to go around the outside. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're getting pretty close to an hour, but that's all right. We're getting close to the end. So I think we're doing really good. I think I need to make my darker gray slightly darker because it's kind of blending into my light gray. So let me add another dot of black and see how that looks. Oops. I forgot to dry my brush. So yeah, whenever you wash your brush, make sure you dry it off on your paper towel or your rag, because if you get too much water in your paint, it makes it kind of drippy and watery, and then it's just harder to paint with. So make sure that you wash and dry your brush every time you're changing to a color, to a new color. There we go. That's a little bit better, a little bit darker. I can see the difference there better now. So I'm doing the top of the head with my darker gray. Filling that in. Good. And then I'm going to use my dark gray to fill in the rest of the body here. So again, outline around the outside. Everybody doing good? I am so excited to see these. You'll have to make sure that you post some pictures for me on Class Dojo, or send me a dojo message with your finished paintings. I can't wait to see what everyone has created. I'm so excited. All right, so I'm going to fill in this little part of the body here. Now, if you want to, you can take your darker color and just do like a really gentle, really soft line, just to show a little bit of separation between the head and the body. Okay, I'm going to fill in, oops, I forgot this front part here. Go around that little foot. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to go along that rainbow pencil line that we did. Very carefully along that rainbow line, just so that I can kind of see where that is. So when I do I'm going to do some light gray kind of highlights at the end of painting in the body, and then you can see the curve of the leg a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to finish filling in the body here, and then I'm going to move on to the tail. So keep working on filling in your squirrel with your light and dark gray, or you might be using a brown or tan, right? Remember to outline around the outside first. Don't forget to flip your brush over and check for some extra paint on the back. Go nice and smooth around that tail. Awesome. We're doing great, everybody. We are getting so close to finishing. The final steps are going to be those fun little details at the end, right? We can do the object in our squirrel's hand. We can do a little bit of black on the eyes, nose, and mouth, and kind of finish off those little fun details at the very end that'll bring our painting to life, right? Okay, so I'm going to fill in the rest of my tail with my dark gray since I finished outlining. And I'll give everyone a minute or so to kind of finish that before I show you the next step. So I noticed on my face here, I missed a little white spot here. So I'm gonna fill that in while I'm waiting. So let me just kind of touch up that little spot I missed. A little bit of a touch up here and there. There we go. Perfect. And then again, just don't forget to wash and dry your brush every time you're done painting a section or done with a color. Swish, swish, swish. swipe, swipe, and then blot, 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 or dab, dab, dab on your paper towel or your rag, whatever you're using to dry your brush. Okay, I'm just going to touch up a couple little spots around the feet. Like that. Smooth that out a little bit. Okay. So before we do our final details, I'm going to take my light gray again. And you can still use your medium brush, or you can switch to your small brush. And actually, I have to use my larger one for my first part of my tail. So I'm going to add with my light gray, or my lighter color, I'm going to start at the end of my tail, and I'm going to do like a big swish down the middle, like that. So it worked good for me to use my larger brush. It was just the right size, but you might use a medium brush or a different size depending on your brush, right? So I did a little swish down the middle with my lighter gray, and then I'm just going to take my light gray and do a little outline, kind of a little highlight here and there around the edges, wherever you think would be good spots for little highlights. I'm going to also use my light gray and kind of highlight along the edge of the back here on the body, and a little bit on that curve for the front leg. And I might even do a little highlight here on the top of the hand or the arm. Okay. Awesome. Just add a couple little more swish swirl lines on the tail. Okay. So I'm going to wash and dry my brushes. So I'm all done with the light gray and dark gray on the squirrel. And I'm going to paint my little object next. So that will kind of depend on what you chose, right? So I did a donut, and I'm going to do my strawberry frosting, right? I like strawberry frosting. And some different colored sprinkles. But you might have a different color or different flavor on your donut. Or maybe you did, did anybody do a cheesy poof? Remember when Ulysses ate all the cheese puffs? That was funny. So maybe you want to do that, or maybe you have a cracker or a typewriter or a piece of paper, right? So if you're doing a piece of paper, you might use white paint, and then you might use your black to kind of add some little dots and lines to make it look like writing on the paper, right? So it'll depend on what you did for your object. Since I'm doing a donut, I might use some of my leftover brown paint from my tree stump to do my donut, and then I'm going to make a pink frosting. So I only need a tiny bit of paint for my donut. So just a tiny little bit of white and tiny little bit of red. I'm actually going to put those colors right next to each other and just take a teeny tiny bit on my little brush, because I really don't need a lot. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the red into the white to make kind of a pink strawberry color. All right, so whenever you're finished with your squirrel, you can start to paint your object in your squirrel's hand, or paw, technically, I guess, right? And I would suggest using your small brush for this, because it's such a tiny detail, right? So do one color at a time. So I'm starting with my pink frosting, and then I'm going to do my brown. Might add a little bit of white to my tree stump color to make it a lighter brown donut color. And then I'm going to do some rainbow sprinkles. So you can do any colors that you want on your object, right? Yes. This is where you can really make yours even more unique and special and one of a kind, just like you. You can do any colors you want for your object. So just make sure that you wash and dry your brush in between changing colors to keep your paints nice and clean. Keep your brushes nice and clean. So I'm going to add a little bit of white to my brown to make a donut brown color. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in. Everybody doing good? I hope we're doing awesome and having lots of fun. I can't believe that it's almost time to end. This went by really, really fast. Time always flies when you're making art. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So after we finish painting our little object in our squirrel's hand, our final step is going to be to add our black details on the face to finish off our squirrel. So that's going to be our final step for today. And then at the very end, if you wanted to sign your artwork, you could write your name or your initials, right? Your initials are the first letter in your first name and the first letter in your last name. Some people include their middle name as well if they have one. So you could write your name or your initials in the bottom corner, maybe down here on the right or the left, wherever you have space, wherever you'd like it to go. Or this paint dries pretty quickly. I'm touching it with my finger. My background's already dried. So at the very end, if you wanted to, you could even take like a Sharpie marker and sign or write your name with a Sharpie if you don't want to do it with the paintbrush. That might be a little easier. All right, and I actually have some leftover paint, yellow paint on my plate from earlier when I was demonstrating mixing colors. So I'm going to use some of that leftover yellow to paint a couple of my sprinkles. Yellow. And then I'm going to do a couple red. And then maybe I'll do blue for my last one. Or maybe I'll just do red because I only have, and then I have 3 yellow, 3 red. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Okay. Awesome. Okay, everybody. So the final step, I know some of you might still be working on your details, and that's totally fine. But our last step is to do the eyes, nose, and mouth with black, okay? So I'm going to just use my small, skinniest paintbrush for that. I'm going to put a little tiny dot of black paint on my plate. Remember, I can always get more if I need to. And I'm going to swirl my brush in the black. So again, you can kind of hold your brush straight up and down if you need to do something that's a little more detailed, like your mouth. All right. Sometimes we hold our brush like a pencil on an angle, and that works good for certain things. But if you have something that's really small, really tiny, you might want to hold it straight up and down to get more control over your line, okay? So I'm going to paint my eyes. I'm going to use a C curve. C curve, C curve. Now remember, you can do your eyes different styles, right? You can leave a little bit of the white canvas showing if you want a little reflection in the eye, like that. Or you can fill it in all the way with black. You could even add some eyelashes if you want to. Of course, you can always add your own ideas, right? So I'm going to paint my eyes. Use a C curve. C curve, that'll help me get more of a round circle. And then fill in. I'm going to leave a little bit of white for a reflection in my eye, but you don't have to. Remember, you can fill in the whole thing. It's your artwork. It's your choice. You can change it and make it your own. All right. Good. And I'm going to fill in my nose. Outline. There we go, and then fill that in. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I just gotta do my little smile here, my little mouth. Ta-da! Awesome. Now, if you wanted to, you could add some little pink cheeks. I did that on my example one. I just did 2 little dots of pink if you wanted to, but of course that's optional. You can mix some white and red together for that, or you could use your pink if you're a student that got pink in their art kit. All right, so I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And anything else that you might want to, kind of add a little outline to. I think I might do a little black outline around my donut just to kind of clean up that edge a little bit. You don't have to outline anything with black, but if you wanted to maybe go around your object, that might help it kind of stand out from the background a little more. That's totally up to you, though. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I think I'm going to add a little outline on mine. That kind of helps it stand out more. Perfect. Well, I have had so much fun painting with you tonight. I'm so happy that so many people were able to join us. This was super fun to do a YouTube Live. I've never done it before. So thank you all for signing up for this. I hope you enjoyed it and had fun. And don't forget, you can watch this again. Here, let me switch my camera back up and flip it over. There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining me for our virtual family paint night. I hope you had a lot of fun. I did. And thank you again for signing up for this. Hopefully it was a really fun time for your family to spend some time painting and creating together. And again, don't forget to send me some pictures. I really want to see how your artwork and your paintings turned out. I'm so excited. And if you need to watch this back again, we will post the video again, I believe on our Facebook page. So yeah, don't worry if you need to watch it back or if you were not able to make it tonight. We are going to be posting the link again for you to view at a later date. So you can always watch back and kind of pause the video if you need to, okay? All right, well, thank you again. I had so much fun. I hope you liked painting Ulysses the squirrel for our virtual family paint night. And you all take care. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you soon. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.